and the space next door, Blackbird Brewery. They're my second home. It's just a matter of, like, on a Friday night, it's just a matter of if I'm here or there. So if you're ever looking for me, it's a good place to look. We both hide here a lot. You know, we love it. It's a community space. This is 21 and up. That's more like family vibes, big party vibes. But they're both really great, and I encourage you guys to frequent them. Thank you for hosting us, Harmony, this morning. And thank you for the Wake Forest Chamber and the Heritage Business Alliance. It's an exciting group to kind of cozy in and get to know one another. My name is Rebekah Werner. I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. If you need coffee, nut bars, anything like that, please help yourself. So I'm going to start just by talking about Unita Marketing. I founded Unita Marketing in 2022 because I was tired of compromising. We take a bear hug approach to our clients. We have less clients, and every client's a really big deal for us. And we do a lot more for them. We're comprehensive, everything from, I need a logo, I need you to help me name my business, I need branding, all the way to, hey, it's time for me to scale. Can you help me scale? Or I've got a new location, or I'd like to sell my business. Can you help me pretty it up, right? Most of what we do is online. Now that we have Zoe on staff, I don't even have to outsource my graphic design and print design, so that's awesome. We're doing all that in-house now. I do work with Foxtrot printers for the actual printing. He's fabulous. If anybody needs printing, I'm happy to give you his name. And I work with Sign Craft Solutions for large-scale printing, large format printing. So if you guys, those are the two things that we have to outsource. If you want me to give you their names, happy to do that. Otherwise, call me because we got you. So this is a little bit about me. I was just described by a friend as type A, which is just hysterical because I'm really type B in my personal life. I'm pretty free spirit, you know, go with the flow, spontaneous person. But when it comes to other people's businesses, that's when everything goes out the window, right? That's when it's like, okay, it's time to work, right? Because I understand just, you know, how it feels to be a small business owner and how precious that is. So I hold you guys near and dear to my heart. I spend most of my time helping small businesses grow. That's essentially what we do. So that's a little bit about me. And then let's dive in. We're going to talk about the strategy in naming your business first. Okay, so we're going to kind of start from the ground up here. So the first thing, this seems obvious, but I help people rebrand, right? We should know what you do by your business name. And that can be kind of limiting. And it doesn't have to be extremely specific. I'm going to use a couple of examples. Bird's Nest at Blackbird, right? If you just say that, I'm like, say what? Right? Bird's Nest at Blackbird cocktail bar, cocktail lounge, something attached to it, right? Now, Bird's Nest at Blackbird is an interesting example because they're leaning on Blackbird Brewery and everybody kind of already knew who they were. And the idea was kind of to stay underground. So we intentionally left the name as Bird's Nest at Blackbird to kind of create that speakeasy vibe without calling it a speakeasy, right? So it kind of goes both ways. There's always exceptions to every rule. Now, Lighthouse Chiropractic, it'd be pretty weird if you called your business was called Lighthouse, right? It's like, wait a minute, what is that, right? Unita Marketing, what if I was just called Unita Enterprises or Unita Incorporated, right? I don't have to say Unita Comprehensive Marketing Agency that specializes in search engine optimization. That's a mouthful. But generally speaking, use the word marketing, right? Use the word chiropractic care or chiropractor, whatever it is. If you're a photographer, use the word photography. But if photography is too specific, if you're video and photography, then maybe you say content creator or, something that, what you want to do is you want to take all the things that you do and you want to zoom out and find one or two words that comprises that. And then you want to attach something personal onto it, right? So I just worked with somebody, and I know she would love me calling her out, especially since this is on video. She came to me with a business name, Project Possibility. I was like, that is really exciting. I'm curious. I understand why you named it that. I want to ask you why you named it that, right? But what are you doing? I don't know what you're doing. And when I land on your brand, I should immediately know what you're doing. So now her business name is BW Small Business Consulting. Is that the most exciting name you've ever heard in your life? It's not. I'm not going to pretend like it is. But her branding is pretty sweet. Zoe took care of that for us. The idea is her name's Barbara Walsh. And we took that BW, which is super brandable. It's a great icon. and we assigned small business consulting. That sums it up. Now, Barbara is a she's one of those chief financial officers. She's like a financial guru. She came from corporate America, was tired of the grind. But all the services that she provides can be summed up by saying, hey, if you have a small business and you don't know what you're doing, give me a call. Whether you need help with money or operations, you just need a small business coach, I've got you, right? So we went with small business consulting because that sums up everything that she does, right? And then we build out the specific pages. We'll get to that later. Keep it intuitive. Avoid names that confuse potential customers. Project Possibility, it was cute, but it confused me, right? I'm like, what do you mean? So let's see. Name your business for SEO. There's certain times where you can call somebody like me and say, I'm between these two words when we're naming our business. And I can pull in keyword research and market research and help you determine between those two words. It's tough to think of an example, but one would be legal versus lawyer, right? I'm a legal firm, or am I a law firm? That's a great example. You could say, hey, Rebekah, I'm in this spot. Can you get the search volume of these two search terms and see which one's more popular and which one's going to bring me more business? So naming your business for SEO is thinking strategically. Something like chiropractor, chiropractic, that's pretty obvious that you want to go with something like that, but maybe you choose your phrasing. If they're both right, maybe you choose that specificity, that last portion based on SEO volume. Does that make sense? Search volume. Yeah. Okay. This is like, if you really want to search online, show up online quickly, you can use your main service plus your location, and you will see those businesses, and they kind of make you roll your eyes a little bit, like Raleigh Painting Company, and you're like, really? But guess what? They're showing up, and that's why you saw them. So if you're doing the get rich quick thing and you know you're going to package this thing up and sell it in 3 years, you might want to call it Raleigh Painting Company because you're going to rank faster, right? It is boring, and I don't recommend it to my clients because it makes you roll your eyes and you don't really want to call them. But it's worth mentioning. It will help you show up faster. Okay, so this one is near and dear to my heart. Avoid name conflicts and protect your brand. I have a side yoga business. It's my little hobby, my little passion. I love it very much. Shocker, it's called Unita Yoga. It used to be called something else, and turns out I was informed after being in business for over a year that I was infringing on somebody's trademark. I was like, what? That's a totally different word. Well, it turned out that my word was a part of their word. It's a thing. I had no idea, right? I was an early business owner. So really, really take your time when you're choosing your business name, especially, obviously the word yoga, come on, like, of course I'm going to have that in there, right? We've talked about that. But that other word that identified it, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to call anybody out, but like that was a small part of somebody else's business name on the other side of town. And to me, they just felt so different. I knew about that business, but it didn't even occur to me. They're like, oh yeah, you got to change your name. Like legally, you've got to change your name. I was like, okay. And rebranding is really annoying. It can be done and we can help you do it, but the legal part of it is a nightmare. So really just take the time to research the businesses in your area and make sure that not only does somebody take that name, but does somebody sound like that? Is there any part of your name that's interfering with a local business? There are a few people that get national trademarks. They're expensive and they don't typically come after you. That's kind of a specific question. We could talk about it later. But one other example I want to give you guys is my church, Life Point Church. Turns out there's a bunch of those across the nation. We had to rebrand our church. Now we're Devoted City Church because that's why we rebranded. It came down to money. People were sending us money thinking they were sending it to a church in Texas, and vice versa. The church in Texas was receiving money from our church members. And these church leaders were talking, and they're like, this is crazy. And then you start searching online. There's a bunch of Life Point churches. So we just said, you know what? We're going to just start over. And so now we're Devoted City Church. So it can go beyond just the legal, like somebody coming after you that's annoying to change your name. You can actually, like, if somebody's trying to pay you, they could pay the wrong business. So that's another thing to think about. I think that's the, okay, the confusion in search results. So Life Point's a great example of that. You go online and you search for Life Point Church, you're going to see a bunch of Life Point churches, and it's just confusing, right? So maybe when you're creating your website, the back end of your website, if you know that you've chosen a popular name and you're just like, I'm doing it anyway, We'll talk about page titles, kind of later in this series, but there's a way to configure what shows up in search engine results. Make sure you have your geographic identifier in there. Life Point Church, Raleigh, right? So that when anybody searches on that and they know to search for Raleigh, that doesn't mean they're not going to pay the wrong Life Point. That doesn't mean you're not going to avoid any confusion, but do what you can to avoid that confusion, just thinking in terms of somebody searching online. Okay, so before we move on to branding packages, does anybody have any questions about naming your business? Okay, so branding packages, these are a little controversial because we all know that we can get on Fiverr and get a logo for $60. And I work with people every day who've done exactly that. And if you're one of those people, no judgment whatsoever. I save money everywhere I can. That coffee over there, I made it myself this morning, right? I mean, brewed 3 pots of coffee and dumped it in there and it was on my way because I know how to make coffee. I didn't need to do it. And I have the pump pots, so I get it. But when you want to look down the road, do I want t-shirts? Do I want hats? Do I want stickers? Do I want magnets on my car? Do I want to have a banner that needs to be projected on large scale? For every single one of those examples, you need a professional logo package given to you by a designer. These designers intentionally don't teach us how to do the things, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. And I can't tell you how to do the things because I don't know how to do the things personally. What matters to me is that I know who knows, and I work with those people and they give me what I need. Zoe knows over there if you guys want to pick her brain after. She's the one with the green sweater, but I'm calling her out. But she's not going to tell me how to do it because that's proprietary information. And what they do, it has value. And AI is not doing that for us, right? Maybe eventually they will, but so far, that's something we've got to old school, call a designer and have them prepare this package. The other idea is that you want to have variations, right? So with your logo, my logo is long, right? And the only reason I don't have all the different variations is because I'm saving money, right? I haven't forked over that money, but it holds me back all the time. So I can be like a personal testament to why I should have invested in a full branding package, right? What I did instead was what most of us do and say, hey, make it look exactly like this. Do it as quickly as possible because I want to pay you this least amount possible, but give me all the formats so I can go large format and for merch, right? It's a common trap that we fall in. But I'm telling you, those of you that have been in a small business ownership situation for more than 5 minutes, we're going to have to spend some money, and this is a place where you don't want to scrimp and save. When you come out of the gate with badges, social icons, this formation, a stacked formation, and you have options and it all is cohesive and feels like your brand, it is so much faster and so much more efficient moving forward. You order t-shirts 5 years later. Oh, I need the blankety blank format I have never even heard of. And I just take that zip file. And I'm like, here you go. Done. Right? It's got all the stuff in there. And those people know what to look for and they grab the right thing. Right? You could say, I want this. This is the one I want. And here's all the things. Get the right format. Get whatever you need. Because your professional logo package will have all the formats in all the file types. Does that make sense? Okay. Badge logo for merchandise. High res files. Okay. The other thing that Fiverr doesn't do is give us high res enough files so that when you try to print it on a banner, the banner company is going to call you and say, I'm not putting my name on this banner. Like, it is a blurry mess. And so then you have to go back and then you're in a rush because nobody orders a banner a month ahead of time, right? And then it's like very stressful. And then maybe you have a banner, maybe you don't. Do it right from the beginning is my recommendation. Working with a designer. Okay, what you can expect, it doesn't take a lot of time. Designers charge by the hour, right? So you do not want to go to a designer and get psychological and explore your feelings, right? You want to come to the bird's nest, get a bottle of wine, explore your feelings with your best friend, get it nailed down. What do I want people to feel when they see my brand? Do I want them to feel powerful? Do I want them to feel comforted? Do I want them to feel excited, rejuvenated? What overall feelings? Find the feeling first, then find the colors. Right? And don't be glued to your colors. Don't be married to them. Let the designer use their expertise. Generally speaking, I want the person to feel X. Generally speaking, I really like bright greens and bright blues and sharp contrast. I love using white space. No black, please. Those are some kinds of things that you would say to your designer, right? You'd give them your business name, of course, and then you'd give them some hand-drawn, horrific looking, sketched out on a napkin at Bird's Nest little icon symbol-y thing that you have in your brain, and they somehow turn it into something beautiful. I don't know how they do it, but you want to give them all of that direction. You want them to know your name, who you're talking to, what you want them to feel, the colors in general, and then some squiggly thing that you have in your brain. Even if the squiggly thing is soft lines, sharp lines, geometric, symmetry, give them as much as you can, because then they're going to work as quickly as possible and it's going to cost you less. Okay? So you give them all the direction that you can. They come back to you. You give them some feedback. They get to work. They come back to you again. That's typically it. If you do your homework before you work with them, they're working on your logo 2 to 3 hours for design. If you get on the phone with them and you're telling them how you feel and that you have a headache and the dog ate your homework, you're being billed for that time. So please keep that in mind. Hello, how are you? Great. Da 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 da. Get to it and get off that phone because you're being billed. Just keep that in mind anytime you're working with somebody who's charging by the hour. Additional logo variations or design options may increase the cost. Duh, right? Takes longer. However, given my last slide, go for it. I want a social icon. I want a badge that looks good on merch. I want a long, I want a short. And that pretty much sums it up, right? Whatever you want, say that's 4 that I just listed out, they're going to give you 4 or 5 variations, file types of each one of those things. So you're not going to have to go back to them and ask for, can you give me the blah, blah, blah. Does that all make sense, guys? All right. Building your web. Oh, any questions? Branding, logos, design work. Yes.
So the badge logo for merch, is it different from the other file types that we have?
That's a great question. So file types denotes PNG, JPEG. What's some of those designer yes, CPS? You know, you can tell I'm not a designer. AI.ai. That's file types. So what you're asking about is variations of the logo itself, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay. So badge can be the same as an icon. So if you're going to save money somewhere, you can say, give me a long, a short, and an icon, right? However, a badge, generally speaking, might have this shape, right? Flat on the bottom, round on the top. And it gives kind of a different, like imagine it on a hat, right? You got a flat billed hat, right? Like that. Imagine it on a sticker on the back of your car, right here on your shirt. You know, it's just a variation. Whereas a round one, it's like, that looks like a social icon. You know, it's kind of got social icon vibes. But sometimes it works. And we do that with some clients. That's a corner that I'm okay with you cutting. Yeah, does that make sense? But even in that, like your social icon, let me just go back to that for a second. If you want your badge to be round, that's okay. But your social icon needs to be visible from like when it's this big, because it often is this big, right? So if it says, I'm going to just keep calling you guys out, lighthouse, chiropractic, icon in the middle, when I'm on Facebook, I'm going to be like, what is that? Right? Or it's a favicon up in the tab on the browser, and you're trying to recognize it from all the 17 other tabs. I know, right? And so you're trying to recognize the right website, and you're like, I can't even see what that is. But you know, this right here, this is a social icon. It's a gorgeous one too. Harmony's got great branding. Yeah, that's a social icon. Unita Marketing, it's a flower. Unita Yoga is the same exact flower, by the way, and that's by intention. Like that's my brand. That same, that like maroon and gold, that's a social icon. But if I were to make a badge, it needs to have my company name in it, right? It's going on merch, it's going on my car. See the difference? Yeah. Okay, so building your website for SEO. Just to warn you guys, this is where I really nerd out. This is like my favorite part of marketing. So I'm probably going to get excited and start talking fast. Just help me out and kind of do this if I start doing that. But essentially, before we build a website for someone, we do all the keyword research first. And this is what really gets me excited. And don't feel like if you already have a website, you're just out of luck and it's too late. We can absolutely do an SEO audit and make your page work. We most likely will recommend new pages being built out over time. But this is kind of going towards from the ground up. Start with keyword research. Start with market research. What are people searching in the area that you're targeting, right? For us, Wake Forest, nobody was searching Wake Forest 5 years ago. If you lived in Wake Forest and you were searching for a painting company, you'd search Painting Company Raleigh. You know you used to do it. And now you search Painting Company Wake Forest. That's a trend. That's a new development. Now, with that said, there's way more search volume in Raleigh. So how big are you planning to scale? You want to think about these things. Like, I'm planning on having 5 crews and going all the way from Southeast Raleigh to the north end of, Roseville, Youngsville. So you're going to target Raleigh probably, right? But if you're like, hey, I want 1 crew, I want to keep things simple. I know people aren't, if I'm a chiropractic office, like somewhere where people are going to drive to, you're going to target Wake Forest. That's your community. If you're driving foot traffic. So think about those things as you build your website, not just for search engine optimization, but also in your messaging, right? Are you appealing to your community or your area? It's a very different message, what you're saying, and also what you're trying to rank on in search engines. So keyword research, user experience. I think it was 2016 when we had to evolve to, oh my goodness, people are searching on their phones more than they are desktop. It was the exact same time that the amount of time we had to deliver the user with what they were looking for was cut in half. We now have an average of 2 to 3 seconds to give somebody the information they're looking for. If they don't find it in 2 to 3 seconds, not everyone, most of us are gone. And you can think about your own habits. I'm looking for blank, search results, pick that one, land on the site, I'm out. Or, yeah, great, looks good. Maybe I want to learn more and maybe I'm ready to call or book or whatever it is, right? We're not going through and doing research and finding 7 different websites. Maybe we're looking at reviews, especially some of the things that are like really personal. We might be looking at those reviews, absolutely. That's another conversation. But essentially, when you build your website, you want to think about not just search engine optimization, but user experience. When somebody lands on your website, are they able to find the services you provide and the area that you provide them within 2 to 3 seconds? And you do that by building the menu out correctly, right? People are savvy. They know service area is either going to be at the top or it's going to be under about if you're a foot traffic location or if you're a service provider who's traveling to areas, right? If you're a foot traffic location, they're going to your contact page or they're going to your footer. They want to see your physical address. If it's a service company, like a painting company, for example, they're looking for your service area. If I land on a Adams Painting Company in Wake Forest, I see that search result and I live in Youngsville, I don't know that Adams Painting Company is going to be willing to come to me, or I live in Southeast Raleigh. So I'm going to look immediately for that service area page, see the names listed. Oh, cool, he's going to come to me. I don't need to ask him if he can paint my wall. Of course he can paint your wall. It's a painting company, right? But I'm looking for wallpaper removal. Can you do wallpaper removal, Adams Painting Company? I'm going to go to services and see wallpaper page and go, oh, wow, that's awesome. Or, and on that wallpaper page, I'm going to learn, yeah, we can remove it. And yeah, we can make it match, right? So those specific services that are just kind of like, they're not intuitive, right? So if you're a painting company, it's intuitive that you paint interiors and exteriors. If you specialize in commercial, say that. If you specialize in residential, say that. Are you a warehouse painter? Are you somebody who's going to come in and make the Bird's Nest Lounge vibey, right? Like, what are you doing? I should know that when I land on your site within 2 to 3 seconds. Any questions about that? I know that's kind of a big topic. Okay. Yeah. Okay, planning ahead, of course. Yeah, so I like to create an actual sitemap before we build their website. I think that's on here. Yeah. So this is all about a sitemap. So I literally I use Google Workspace. It's my jam. So Google Sheets. I take home, about, services, boom, 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 services. And then maybe under about, I have FAQ or service area or my team, whatever. Then I have my services under services. And then maybe I have a blog and then a contact. And it's usually that simple. And people are looking for that. People do not want to see every single service across the top of your page. Now, if you do 2 things, put them both at the top. Most of us do one thing up here that we can sum up in one, and that would be on our service page. And then we have all these ways we could describe it. We can use Unita Marketing as an example here. It's a great way to think about it. On our services page, we talk about the fact that we got you. We can handle it. Whatever it is, if we don't do it in-house, we will handle it for you so you can have one invoice, one person you're speaking to, whatever it is, we have you. And then we have individual pages for search engine optimization, web design, logo design, email marketing, social media management, right? All those pieces, workspace management. all the different things. Now, does that comprise every single thing we do? No, it doesn't. It comprises every single thing I want people to know that I do. I don't want somebody to call me and ask me for that one little thing. I just don't. And so I don't have it on my website. But if one of my clients calls me and asks me for that one little thing, the answer is absolutely yes. But I'm not trying to attract business to, what's an example? I can't think of an example right now, but photography. We have an in-house photographer. We're really lucky. Most marketing agencies don't have that, right? I'm not trying to attract business as a photography company. I have local photographer friends that have their own businesses, like Zoe has her own thing going on the side, right? We actually contract with her. Like, you don't want to take away from all the people and all the things, right? But if one of my clients says, I need photography for this, I say, yeah, we got you. No problem, right? So think about it that way too, planning ahead. Let's see, clear sitemap. Yeah. Alrighty. Any questions about sitemap and building your website in a way that's SEO friendly and user experience friendly?
There's questions at the end.
Yeah, but if it's about that, we can talk about it now too.
I got one for the past section.
Yeah, that's okay. Ask me now while it's fresh if you want.
Okay, well, so the 2 to 3 seconds. I've heard, when you are looking at, it's called like above the fold, right? Like the initial section that pops up when you click on a website.
Yes.
That you want to put your service areas in that. For
Service area pages for different cities, which was very smart, Gabe. The answer to how much is too much is basically this. If you have 7 or 8 cities, that's probably central North Carolina, right? If you're on the eastern part of North Carolina, maybe you say eastern North Carolina in general. I have a client who serves specific states. We're displaying that with the service area page with the states highlighted, but then you build out every individual page that you're trying to rank on. So if you're trying to rank for Wake Forest, Youngsville, Roseville, or North Raleigh, right? You're trying to, I know where you are. So you're trying to rank like Wakefield area, 27614, right? And then into Roseville, because those people will drive to you. I drive 25 minutes to my chiropractor. He's worth it, right? So that's not, I didn't know you yet. But yeah, I mean, people will drive, and you're smart to target those areas because people may land on your site and feel moved to make that drive, right? But does it need to be in your menu? No. Service area needs to be in your menu. If someone's wondering if they can get to you quickly, they're going to go to your service area page, and then they'll see Raleigh, Youngsville, Roseville. Maybe they'll click on the page, maybe they won't. But having that page built in will help you show up in those searches.
Actually listing the names on the front screen, though.
Okay, so that's the beginning question that Gabe asked was above the fold. So before you start scrolling, do people need to see the service area? That's what you're asking, right?
Too much.
Yeah.
Because I have listed like Lighthouse Chiropractic Wellness. We do chiropractic and functional medicine, holistic healthcare for families, serving these locations all in that one section.
All above the fold?
That's what I've heard.
Wow.
To like have so people can see right away, what do you do, who do you serve,
yeah,
where do you serve,
yeah,
and how many cities is too much, where it's like
it needs to be logical. Okay. And you need in that question, so Gabe's asking, okay, the first thing when somebody lands on my site, they're going to see what I do and who I serve, and that's a great concept. So that is, you're right on track. If you start listing Cary and Fuquay and Holly Springs, that's going to feel ridiculous to you, right? That's too much. Okay. Raleigh, think about, you're here, think about these cities. That's just logical, right? And it's also logical that you're a brick and mortar location, and if I live beyond those cities, I can drive to you, but like, it's not really, you're going to get very little traffic from those areas. So targeting them is really just going to clutter your site up. So does that answer your question? Yeah. You kind of want to think about that from just a logical perspective. Yeah, like even if we got you showing up in Holly Springs, Gabe, like even if you're like, I really just want to show up in Holly Springs, we could do that for you. But those people that are landing on you, they're going to be seeing where you are and they're going to be, what in the world? Like, this isn't Holly Springs chiropractic care. Like, why did you even, it's kind of frustrating for that person actually, because it's so far, right? So that's kind of how you want to think about it more logically. All right. This is another place for me to nerd out a little bit. Analytics and performance analysis. If you are working with a marketing agency who is not giving you metrics, ask them to give you metrics. They know how, right? We get busy. It doesn't mean they don't care about you. It just means sometimes you need to ring their bell a little bit. This information is incredibly vital. If you are not working with a marketing agency, you can call a marketing agency and say, will you help me connect my site to analytics and Google Search Console? I'm going to be speaking in that regard, that you're saving the money, you don't have the marketing agency, but you want the metrics. Say you think to yourself, this is my first year, I'm just getting organized. I'm saving money everywhere I can. I'm going to spend money on my logo, my website, and that's it. It's not a bad idea, right? Give yourself time to kind of settle in, whatever you need to do. Spend money on the branding up front. You want this up front. You plan on calling a marketing agency in 1 year. It is incredibly beneficial to that marketing agency that you already have your site connected to analytics, because we can see past search traffic volume and we learn things from that and we can help you more. It's incredibly beneficial. Search Console has become way more robust, and it actually gives us a lot of SEO data now. So connect your site. If you are not working with a marketing agency, just call them up. We can connect it for you, and then we can be hands off. Now, just because you're connected doesn't mean you stay connected. So you do need to audit that. So let's talk about what they are first, and then we'll kind of get into it. Google Analytics. It's commonly referred to now as GA4, but that's because Google, that's what they're calling the latest variation. Just when you get used to calling it that, they're going to call it GA Flower or something else. Generally speaking, it's Google Analytics. Okay, and what Google Analytics is it's basically connected to your website. And when you log in there, you're able to see who is landing on my site, not John Smith. We don't care what the name is. We care where John Smith is and what he did when he got there, right? So we're able to see geographic data. Did most of your website traffic come from Wake Forest, Roseville, Youngsville, or was most of it from Holly Springs? Wouldn't that be a surprise, right? And then you search chiropractic care of Holly Springs, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in #1 spot. That's so random. I don't have one client from Holly Springs, right? So you can kind of learn interesting things like that with the geographic data. But most importantly, you can see what they're doing when they get there and where they came from. Did they come from an email campaign that you just spent money on? Or did you take all this time and work with a marketing agency and do this whole drip campaign thingamajiggy and you got nothing from it? Are you going to do it again? No, you're not. You're spending money on Google Ads. You can see how much of your search traffic came from Google Ads, right? If you're spending thousands of dollars and 3% of your traffic is coming from Google Ads, am I going to recommend that you keep spending that money? Absolutely not. If 95% of your traffic is coming from Google Ads, I'm going to say don't stop, right? We need to get your organic ranking up higher. And then once we get your organic ranking up, then we can stop spending money on ads. And that is kind of a fun game to play. But we get to learn all of those things. We can tell direct traffic is when somebody types in your URL, which basically never happens, but they usually have it cached in their browser, right? They start typing LI and it's like, oh, Lighthouse Chiropractic, and you just hit enter and there it is, right? That's where most direct traffic comes from. Also, people bookmark websites. Are they going to bookmark your website? I don't know. I don't think I'm that special. Maybe you are. But they do remember your name and start typing it in and just hit enter. So that's direct traffic. Organic traffic, that's what I do. That's where people find you online. They're searching for a painting company near me, and they find Adams Painting Company instead of Joe Schmo Painting Company. That's search engine optimization at its finest. That's organic traffic. We want those numbers going up. If you are investing in a marketing agency who says they're doing search engine optimization for you, you should be able to go in your analytics account and see, is my search traffic increasing over time? Now, give us some time. It takes 3 to 6 months at least, right? Some industries take 9 to 12 months. If you're a DUI lawyer in Raleigh, you're going to have to give me 12 months. I mean, that's just how it is, right? But if you're a super niche, like energy healer in this small community, give me 2 months, right? And everything in between. So it really just depends on how specific your industry is and how large your target area is as far as how long it takes. Direct, organic, email marketing, you'll be able to see that. Referral traffic, everybody talks about backlinks. They're super, super important. For most of my clients, a very small amount of their traffic comes from referral traffic, but it matters, right? It does matter. That's traffic coming from, most of referral traffic, honestly, for people in the chamber comes from Wake Forest Chamber website. That's referral traffic. I'm hanging out on the Wake Forest Chamber website. I'm looking for a photographer. I find the one I want. I click. It brings me to their website. You were just referred here by somewhere else, right? So those are all the different things. And then you can also see what people did when they got there. Did they hang out for a long time? Did they take a lot of actions? Did they fill out a contact form? Now you have to have somebody like me configure key events, and we have to go back into your website and build a special page. And it's kind of confusing to connect a key event. So you probably would need some help with that. But you can call people like me up and just say, can you do this for me? And I will say yes, and I will do that for you. Google Search Console monitors your SEO performance from a super high level. But more importantly, they let you know if Google's having trouble indexing any pages of your site, which is very helpful because you want Google to index the pages of your site with no problem, right? We want those bots crawling and singing when they're on your site, like, I'm getting everything I want, and I'm going to put it in the search engine results. And if they have an interruption, they're going to fire off an email to you and say, hey, I have, and it's going to be a bunch of jargon. And then you call your marketing agency and they fix it for you. But it is very helpful to know. Let's see here. Monitor your site traffic. Yeah, I think I already talked about all that. Yeah, I got ahead of myself. Surprise, surprise. I already talked about all that too, except one thing. Re-index pages after updates. This is, again, it's kind of high level, but I'm getting specific with you guys today because I know you're hustlers and you're trying to do it yourself. If you are connected to Google Search Console, if you make a change on a site, you can actually re-index that page with Google. And it's just a way of saying, hey, look at me. I made a change. And Google likes when you make changes to your site. That helps you show up higher in search engine results. And so we want to tell them, will it eventually index if you don't do that? 100% yes. Will it index within a day or so if you do what I'm telling you to do? Yes. It's a lot faster. So a lot of times people will say things like, oh, you'll see these changes online in a couple of, 2 to 3 weeks, right? You might have heard that. Well, this is where you can go, I can make them show up sooner, right? Because you make it show, you index it with Google and say, hey, this is different. Maybe you change the page title, or maybe you added a new page to your site and Google doesn't even know that page exists. Index it in Google Search Console. Yes?
How often should changes be made to your website?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. Would you say more often you should be adding like photos and updates to your business profile?
Great question. So first question was, how often should you make changes to your website? And I recommend every 2 weeks at a minimum. And slow and steady wins the race. So don't make 45 updates one day and then none for 3 months, which we all know that we do that sometimes. Make an update every couple of weeks, right? The second question, I already forgot it. What was it?
Like adding photos and
photos.
To the business profile, Google business profile.
Okay, Google Business Profile is its own. It's its own beast, and we're going to get to that. I think it's week 3, but we'll talk about when we're getting to it. So I'm going to ignore your Google Business Profile question because it's just too big. But the answer to your question is yes. You should be updating, adding stuff to your Google Business Profile. Yes, that's the short answer. Now, the question you didn't ask that I'm going to answer is, should I be regularly updating, adding images and videos to my website? The answer is, it totally depends on your business. If you are a painting company, yes. If you're a chiropractic care center, no. If the more images you have, the slower your site is going to be. And if you don't have somebody like us compressing your images and focusing on site speed, it can slow your site down significantly. Those homepage slideshows, those videos, if you're not working with a professional company to streamline that for you and compress that on the back end, your site can slow down. And if I click on your search result and it takes an extra 4 or 5 seconds to load because you have all that content on there, that could damage you because people aren't going to wait 5 to 6 seconds. They're going to wait 2 to 3 seconds, right? So think about that when you're loading things onto your website. YouTube can be very helpful as a resource for videos. This video right here will go on my YouTube page, and then the link to the YouTube video will go on my website. And you can embed it as a video so you can actually see it and hit play and not even leave the website. But it's not hosted on the website. All it is an embed code coming from YouTube. So it's not slowing down your site. So I highly recommend, if you're a video content person, use YouTube and embed the videos into your website. Did I answer your question? Yes.
How difficult is it to connect to the Google Analytics or Google Search Console? Is that something you can do yourself?
So a year ago, I would have said, don't even try. Okay, because 5 years ago, I could have maybe walked you through it. Maybe. It's still pretty technical. 2 years ago, they tried this tag manager situation, which was a total hot mess. It was a disaster. Definitely don't do that yourself. If you're being prompted to use Google Tag Manager, call a professional. You are just going to make a mess. Trust me. Now, they did just implement something in WordPress called SiteKit. Those directions are somewhat intuitive, and you might be able to swing it. And if you make a mess, we can always clean it up. That's my answer to that. It actually is more intuitive than ever. Yeah. But it's still easy to make a mess, and if you make a mess, don't feel bad. All right, so what's coming next? We still have like another 12 minutes. So what's coming next? I'm just going to kind of breeze through really quick. Let's talk about any questions you guys have before I jump into that. Yes.
So is there such a thing as having keyword stuffing?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that. We'll talk about content development in a future week, and we'll get into keyword stuffing. It's a very popular thing to do. I want you to think about your own user experience when you're on websites.
Yeah, I know people don't like it, but I see a lot of my competitors do it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that makes it better for them getting more people to their website or not.
Okay, so 10 years ago, keyword stuffing, it was important. You had to do it.
Is that like
It worked.
you just have everything on there just so it's going to show up somewhere?
Marketing agency Raleigh. You land on my website on the homepage, you're going to see it. It's there. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't be doing my job. If it was stuffed in there like 25 times, that's keyword stuffing, right? And it's annoying. It's spammy. It feels spammy when you're reading it, right? When you land on the page and you're like, you start rolling your eyes, right? Well, Google started rolling its eyes about 10 years ago, and they developed, I'm going to say the word wrong, a word that is, the root is synonyms, right? So Google is actually reading and interpreting synonyms. So chiropractic versus chiropractor, legal versus law. They're interpreting, if it says legal firm, it's a bad example, legal law, because it's such a competitive industry. A less competitive industry, energy healing. I worked with an energy healer, and that was a little bit easier because there's not tons of competition for that, right? Energy healing versus energy healer. You do not want to go after energy healer on one page and energy healing on another, because one is a synonym of the other, and they're not really, they don't mean the exact same thing, but they have the same root, right? So you want to think about, I'm working with a baseball training company, Octane Baseball right now. Baseball training is different than baseball performance versus baseball private instruction, right? Private lessons for baseball. Like, those are all different things. So we're going to go after those different things on different pages. Baseball coaching, baseball coaches, right? Baseball coaching and baseball coaches, same thing. Does that make sense? Baseball training and baseball coaching, a little bit different. One, you're talking about the person who's coaching, and one, you're talking about the actually training programs, right? So think about it like that. But the real question you ask is stuffing, and you don't want to do it. It looks spammy, so you've always got to think about user experience. I would be having a poor user experience if you landed on my site and saw marketing agency 25 times. You would probably be annoyed with me, and you would probably intentionally not call me because I'm annoying. However, I still would show up a little bit higher in Google, and that's just a fact. As long as it was done correctly. 25 times, Google hates it. It's called keyword spamming, and Google actually flags it as a negative indicator of search engine results.
Yeah, because I'm in a competitive space. I'm a law firm. So
Okay, good luck, sister.
yeah.
Call me if you need me. My cards are right there on the bar. That's a competitive industry. So the reality is you've got to get it in there. And if you don't, you're not going to show up. If you put it in there too much, you're annoying and you're going to get dinged. Okay, so there's something called keyword density that we'll talk about in a future week. But overall, if you have this much content, you can have the word in there way more than if you have this much content. If you have this much content and you mention Wake Forest law firm 7 times, I'm super annoyed by that. Google's annoyed by that. Everyone's annoyed by that, right? But if you have like a white paper you know, like white paper kind of like volume of, you know, you can go after something specific. And that's what we use blogs for that a lot.
I was going to ask about the updating your site like 2 times
Mhm.
every 2 weeks. Is it like vlogs, or are you just going through and making it? I'm not, to be honest, I'm not doing my website, so
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
So
Let me tell you where we're going with the next 3 weeks, because some of these questions you're asking are super large topics that I'll spend 15 minutes talking about.
Okay.
And then I'll answer any more questions you guys have. So next time we meet, basically it's the third Friday of December, January, February. Okay. And we're going to meet 8 a.m. in this space because we all are hustling. And once we get started with our day, it's not going to happen. Right. I will keep making coffee for you. And other than that, you might, you know, we got some little snacks, but yeah. So next time we meet, we're going to talk about social media directory setup and management. So we're going to focus on social media for the entire time, basically. We're going to talk about making sure your branding is consistent. We're going to talk about how to use your workspace accounts, which isn't social media, but it is kind of representing your brand external to your website. So I kind of just put it in the same bucket.
That's a Wednesday.
Oh, then I said it. Oh, it should be a Friday. The date's wrong then.
Okay.
The date's wrong, everyone.
Okay.
What's that Friday?
All right. It's
The 12th. It's December 12th, Friday at 8 a.m.
That's the second Friday. Do you want the third Friday?
Hold on. Are we on the third Friday right now? I think we are. Maybe it's the second Friday of every month then. This is important. I'm glad you pointed that out, Dorsey.
Yeah, so
We're on the third Friday.
It's December 19th. I didn't know if maybe you're changing it for the holiday because with Christmas.
Oh,
being
I
the
might
next
have
week,
done that.
So it'd be Friday the 12th would be the second Friday. Just
Okay,
not be
stay
too close to
tuned,
Christmas.
everyone. I believe it's Friday, December 12th because of the holiday.
Check it and then get back.
Yeah. Julie, do you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So date aside, we'll get back to the date. But basically what we're going to focus on is we're communicating cohesively with your team through social media by having one cohesive email address that everybody can use. And then we'll talk about how to set up all the things, right? Google Business Profile, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, Yelp, and Bing Places. And if you've never heard of some of those things, you're not alone. There's also Apple Business Connect that I just realized I left off of there. Apple Business Connect is super important if you're a foot traffic location. And we'll talk about that specifically next time. Email marketing, digital advertising, and measuring results. A lot of people ask me a lot of questions about digital advertising. So we're going to spend some time on that. We're going to talk about email marketing, how to use it, how to not use it, my recommendations. They are my recommendations. I've been in this industry for 20 years. I know what's annoying, and you will never receive random emails from me, I promise. If you sign up for my newsletter, I'm basically just giving you a bunch of information that's free, that's helpful to you as a business owner. I know who my audience is. It's small business owners all day, every day. And we're just giving you info, right? And if you have a question, you just give me a call. Once a month, right? I'll just start with that. Don't email your people like all the time. It's very annoying and they'll unsubscribe. But digital ads, it's not just Google ads. There's another format that Google's offering now called local service ads. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about social media advertising. Most people think of Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, but there's also LinkedIn, which is starting to blow up and get kind of annoying, but we still need to use it. Many of us, not everybody. You probably, yeah. Legal law firm, you got to use it. Yeah. All right, print advertising, what to consider before investing. I get a lot of questions about, we've got some great local magazines in our area. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. Maybe you want to make rack cards and put them on people's door, little hangers. We'll talk about all the things. Keyword search analysis, that's very specific, me nerding out. I'm going to throw a little SEO into every one of these. And Google Analytics, I think we kind of covered that today, so I might skip